After 3 years of COVID, cost of living increases, and generational societal trauma, I think we're all owed a nice, good little treat, don't you? You know, we love getting a good treat, us common folk, but one thing I've noticed in the last few years is that the big corpos, the titans of industry, they just don't treat us like they used to. They've tightened their belts, they've raised subscription prices, and with inflation, even this last Black Friday felt like just a peek into the past of appropriate prices and deals that weren't always disappointing. So as a little Christmas present to you and to ring in the festive season, I thought we would take a look back at a time before raised subscription prices and the end of account sharing on Netflix, when companies weren't afraid to give the commoners a good little treat. And that brings us to the topic of today's video. Apple, the richest company on earth with a market cap of nearly $3 trillion, used to, once upon a time, make the Christmas season feel oh so festive by embracing the spirit of giving. And how did they do that? Well, only with one of the best programs ever that they have, of course, discontinued now, Apple's 12 Days of Christmas. Yes, Apple's 12 Days of Christmas promotion was born 15 years ago in 2008. Mind you, iTunes had only been around for 5 years by then, so the concept of digital ownership was still relatively new. Both companies and consumers were still figuring out how digital ownership and streaming would shape the way we consume content. And while companies like Apple and Google were quick to embrace the business model of online media sales, consumers were a bit more hesitant. Fans of physical media would say that it's just not the same as a physically packaged product that you can hold, you can share with friends, and sell it later down the line if you want. And of course, the concept of perpetual digital ownership can only survive if the digital platform hosting that content survives too. Now, this is a downfall we've seen play out quite a few times now, most recently with Sony when they had to remove over 1,000 seasons of Discovery-owned television from the PlayStation Store. Even for consumers who had purchased those TV shows, they were no longer able to stream them in their PlayStation library, all due to the mysterious boogeyman known as current licensing restrictions. That's like the worst thing Sony did since they made all those Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man. Seriously, why do all these movies exist? I mean, this has got to be a tax write-off or something. Come on. Now, this hasn't happened with Apple, but 2 years ago, you could have said that it hadn't happened with Sony. I mean, imagine someone showing up to your house in a suit and just confiscating your massive collection of DVDs because you didn't renew the licensing agreement. And in the age of streaming, being able to purchase and download certain content can be beneficial in some cases. But of course, our collective relationship with digital ownership is far more mature now in 2023 than it was in 2008. And at the time, Apple was aggressively pushing to be the destination for online digital media. And what better way to show people the joys of owning a TV show or a movie or a music video than to give out free samples? Give people a taste of what it's like and they might want to try some more. I mean, free samples are like the best thing ever. Unless it's like asbestos or something, that would be a bad free sample. So the way 12 Days of Christmas worked was that you downloaded an app that every day you could open and celebrate the 12 Days of Christmas with a new free item. This would usually start around the 26th and go to around the 6th of January. And it was a really great way to ring in the new year. They ran the promotion every Christmas from 2008 for 6 years until its sudden and abrupt death in 2014 that we're going to get to later. And in those 6 years, they released 72 pieces of free content. And this content ranged from paid apps made free to TV shows to movies even and books. Now, of course, some offerings weren't quite as good as others. There were apps like Score, Classic Goals, and Gamelofts, Shark Dash, as well as Photo Cookbook, none of which are available on the App Store anymore. But at the time, people probably felt like they were a nice little treat. There were some duds, like the time they released Tom and Jerry, The Fast and the Furry to rent. Like, you got it for free for about 48 hours. I'm pretty sure if a kid's movie came out today with the word furry in the title, it would be pretty different. Now, there was some diamond in the rough, particularly musical releases were quite nice. There were songs from Avicii and Lorde. There was a music video from Carly Rae Jepsen, 2 singles from Kesha. They released an EP of Maroon 5. Yeah, okay. That one does suck. There were also some TV releases, notably the How I Met Your Mother pilot, as well as the Sherlock pilot. Those were both made available for free. And that was a really cool experience. It was really cool to have these episodes available to download, especially at the time when you weren't able to just stream any and all TV shows on one of the many streaming services that you subscribe to. This felt like a new and novel thing, and it was really cool to be able to have these episodes given out for free. Before both shows ended pretty disastrously, but I suppose that's not Apple's fault, is it? They also gave away episodes of Mad Men as well as The Big Bang Theory. They gave away some books for nerds, losers. I wear glasses, so I'm not. Here they are. I'm one of you, so don't kill me. But finally, I want to discuss the gifts that were truly goated. And now we're talking about the films that were released. Of course, we talked about Tom and Jerry, The Fast and the Furry, but that was a rental, so it doesn't really count. And I got to say, while researching this video, not all of what Apple gave away is really documented or kept a record of. And so it's actually kind of hard to piece together every single thing that they gave away. But as far as I can tell, when it came to movies, I'm sure they may have released some others, but the two notable releases is Martin Scorsese's Hugo, which is a pretty good release. I mean, that's quite a good gift to get. But by far, the best release from Apple's 12 Days of Christmas promotional program. It's pretty much the reason I'm making this video, and it's also the reason that I can never forget this promotion and why every Christmas I think back to the Apple 12 Days of Christmas promotion, because they released Home Alone. Yes, Home Alone, the beloved 1990 Christmas comedy with Kevin McAllister, what's his name? With Macaulay Culkin as the lead, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, and Catherine O'Hara. Those are the main characters to me, at least. Now, Home Alone is clearly the most Christmassy thing that they gave away. I mean, for one, it's an actually Christmas-themed movie. It's not just some random collection of singles. Sorry, Kesha. Not sorry, Maroon 5. This movie easily sits in rewatch territory for me. It's festive, it's sweet, it's led by a child, which just gives the whole thing this sense of like hope and innocence that's so nice. And for one day during a Christmas promotion, Apple released it for free. And despite iTunes only having the capability to stream up to HD when it was released, years later, when Home Alone added a 4K version to iTunes, people who already had the HD version got a free upgrade, which is an additional Christmas treat. But why, after customers loved this program and enthusiastically participated in it for 6 years, was it abruptly and suddenly killed in 2014? Well, there are multiple answers to that question, but the first one starts in September of 2014 when Apple partnered with U2 to release an entire album for free to their customers. And this decision was not well received by the public. I mean, I don't think anyone viscerally hated U2 or even the album. What people didn't feel comfortable with was this feeling that Apple had snuck into their phones overnight, plopped the album in there, and when they woke up, it was just inexplicitly in their music library without any permissions, without the customer having asked for the album or signing up for it. It was just there. And I think that creeped a lot of people out. Now, Apple likely saw this backlash and assumed that people don't want their forced free stuff and that their Christmas promotion might get the same backlash that the U2 one did. Now, I think this was the wrong lesson to learn. I mean, people didn't dislike the U2 debacle because it was free. They disliked it because it was forced onto them and there was no opt-in. There was no choice. But even if you don't buy that their U2 embarrassment killed Christmas, I have another explanation for you. And that is that in 2015, they launched Apple Music as a rival to services like Tidal and Spotify. And it was here they had found their formula. Why pay artists who knows how much money for a promotion where they can give away their art for free when instead you can charge customers a monthly fee to get pretty much access to your full music library and then only pay the artists a smaller stream-based residual fee? That's business, baby! And this, friends, is likely why we will never see a promotion like this again. Because companies, large and even small, have gone all in on the subscription model. The value to these companies that you provide is a recurring monthly fee. If they give things away, that's a product that they're never able to profit off of again. And with YouTube's massive rise in the 2010s, a lot of these companies could see that consumers already had all the free content they could ask for. And this is where artificial scarcity plays a role. Movies like Hugo or Home Alone or really any movie could be freely, easily and widely distributed to Apple's customers if Apple or studios wanted it to be. But they don't. They want these premium entertainment products to be artificially scarce, to be less easily available so that they can charge premium prices. Oh, and along with that, these big companies will continue to raise subscription costs, write off shows that they don't want to release, dumping shows with old license agreements, and generally just doing their purpose as a company, which is to make as much profit for their shareholders as possible. Apple didn't become a $3 trillion company by participating in giveaways. They became a $3 trillion company by ending giveaways and pivoting towards subscriptions and paywalls. To summarize, Apple's 12 Days of Christmas promotional program was fun while it lasted. It was novel, it was exciting, and it was genuinely useful considering 10 years later, I can still watch Home Alone in 4K without ever having paid for it. But those days of big companies releasing beloved classic films for free are decidedly gone. That's in the rearview mirror. We're past that. It's going to be just another fun and niche part of internet culture that's faded into obscurity. Lastly, I want to remind you that Apple's generosity was never genuine. It's always been PR. We just happen to be lucky enough to live through a period where giving away free content was good PR. Now, that would be bad business. And so while it's fun to enjoy the festivities that were, let's not forget the path Apple chose. One of ruthless profiteering, monopoly-esque behavior, and of course, tax dodging. But there you have it, a trip down memory lane, a look back at the fun and joyous time that was Apple's 12 Days of Christmas promotional program. So thank you for watching and helping me process dormant memories I've had of the late 2000s and Apple's Christmas promos. Been a long year, and to ring in the festivities, I'm going to go watch Home Alone for free in 4K. Thanks. I'll see you next time.